Yay! We're here.
Yay! We're here. It's
This
me, the Cass.
we're missing Danny. Danny walked in the woods and was split in half by some guy in a fire mask. Was that what that was?
Yeah, it's a firefighter mask.
Yeah, firefighter mask, and she got pushed down a cliff and only made it halfway. So we're waiting for her to fully go off the cliff so that we can
Start.
catch her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get her moving.
Yeah. So this not really like a theme month. It's more of just here's some movies that came out this year that because some
That
other
we
people
wanted to
were
watch.
saying, yeah, they were like, you only watch like weird stuff. Why don't you watch something that came out this year? I'm like, all right, cool. So let's talk about ones that people have been talking about, and
Yeah.
we talked about Long Legs without you, Cass.
Without
Uh,
me. How dare you?
did you watch it?
No.
Okay, well, all right. So there was another movie. I mean, pretty much any horror movie that comes out, I see it on Twitter a lot, and I feel like with the one that we're going to talk about, I was seeing it for a little bit, and then it kind of disappeared. Movie is called In a Violent Nature. Nature is unforgiving. I can't say this fucking
Enigma?
word. No, well, close. The enigmatic
Enigmatic? Oh, okay.
enigmatic resurrection, rampage, and retribution of an undead monster in a remote wilderness
Oh, that's so
unleashes
mean to
an
call him
iconic
that.
new killer after a locket is removed from a collapsed fire tower that entombed his rotting corpse. Here's what it's actually about. It's
An
about
iconic new killer. They really had high hopes for that one, didn't they?
a
They really did.
I will say I like the look of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not
There's
super original, but it's
no.
okay.
It's very Voorhees.
That's what this whole movie felt like, was like a lost Friday the 13th movie.
Yes, it really did. It's basically just a Friday the 13th rebranded. And instead of a hockey mask, it's a very vintage fire mask. For like fighting fires in the woods and shit.
He also died when he was a kid, but for some reason comes back
Is
as a
an
grown
adult.
man.
Yeah, is
Doesn't
a
make sense, but okay.
huge grown man.
Yeah.
Well, so I think the legends say that he was a kid, but I don't think he actually was a kid. Or at least that's the way I was interpreting it. Because, things get twisted in stories and stuff. And with him being slow, as they say in the movie,
Yeah.
then, he would have had like a more kid mindset, being special needs in that, which they kind of show in the movie when he gets the like car, that's on the car keys, and he's like playing with it. So, like, he could have been an adult when he died, and they were like,
It could have been lost in translation, like a game of telephone where people keep like they'll miss a detail and they'll just fill it in with a different detail, and it's like the legend of it actually doesn't. Maybe that's like what they could have done with Friday the 13th as well, because they also, when they were making the movies, they were like, why does he become an adult? Does he get out and just live in the woods? And they kind of make it like that a little bit.
Wasn't it in that one that it's actually his mom that's doing it?
The first one, and then
the first one, but then after that it's him.
After that it's him, and they were I remember seeing a thing where they were saying that it was they were confused because they were like, wait, why is Jason the killer? He was a child. That doesn't make any sense. And so they try to make it seem like he like came back to life in the lake and then like just lived some random little shack that he made with the head of his dead mom in there too.
Nice.
I mean, they didn't really think of anything when Friday the 13th was going on. They were just like, he wears a mask and he kills people. And they had to make sure that they killed somebody every 8 minutes. for some reason that was like Paramount's thing, was like someone has to die like every 8 minutes or 6 minutes or something like that. But
interesting.
It was stupid, but it was also like, well, let's get creative with it. So that's why the kills are a little more creative, because they're like, well, if we have to do it at these story beat times,
let's
at least make it funny, or interesting and weird, and or send them to space. I mean, at that point, what else is there to do? But this felt like, because it's similar where
like lost footage of it. Yeah.
I would say that Jason doesn't really have like the child mindset thing. Like, I don't know if they considered Jason to be slow. I think he was just disfigured, and that's what people bullied him for. So I don't think he's like dumb. I think it's just he's just ugly. So and that's why they wanted to just let him drown in the lake. You're too ugly to be alive. Die.
That's so mean.
Yeah.
That's so mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, even with like this guy, which I'm assuming that based on the like brief glimpse that we get of him, it looks like they were going for that he probably had Down syndrome. And I'm like, people with Down syndrome aren't like stupid or dumb or like anything like that. Like, yeah, they do, I guess like kids' toys, but I mean, I have a fucking shelf of kids' toys or what some people consider kids' toys behind me. Like,
I have a bin full of Skylanders.
Yeah, I'm like,
maybe that's a different thing that we've got going on.
I'm like, I don't know that that's like, a reasonable justification for like.
I mean, people are still awful. But people have been, throughout time, been terrible to people with disabilities of all kinds.
Oh yeah, that's very, very true. Especially in small logging town kind of thing. If anyone is even slightly different, they get picked on and bullied and that kind of thing. But that's I don't know. This movie is third person over the shoulder ish. It's more like behind the back. Third person behind the back.
Yeah, you're like in the perspective of the killer, or like the main thing is you're watching over the killer.
Yeah.
Going and doing things. And if I had to be completely honest, I think most of the runtime of this movie is just watching him
walk through the woods. There is like part of me does like that perspective that we're given, of like being behind him and like almost at shoulder height, because when I'm super fucking depressed and in my like most sad moments, it does feel like there is almost like this ghost or like pressure on my like upper back that's just like they're sort of stalking me and haunting me, and like it's really weird. And so I felt like we were that like pressure on him, that like we are the means for why he is like going around and like doing all of the horrible things that he's doing, which is like an interesting perspective to me as the viewer. So I liked that aspect of the movie. I was like, oh, okay, like this is actually like we very distinctly, at least I did, like felt sympathetic for our killer because of the story that we're told about him, being slow and that kind of thing, and then he's bullied to his death and that kind of stuff. So like
fell from a fire tower.
Yeah, I fell from a fire tower. So like we're experiencing this, revenge kind of thing with him, as opposed to being the victims and being afraid.
Yeah.
We're almost like put into the position of power, which I don't know, was interesting and kind of fun. However, I wish there was less walking.
It's really, like, because I don't mind if a horror movie tries to go from, like, a more, like, artistic, different kind of approach.
Yeah.
But you gotta have a little bit of something. Something to go off of. I didn't feel like there was, like, any sense of dread, especially because you're going through this nice little forest. Honestly, it was kind of calming.
I
was really just chill.
It was a vibe.
Like, I almost fell asleep because I was like, I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
Just listening to footsteps and looking at nice little sceneries.
That's the other thing that I thought was interesting about this movie, is that there's no musical soundtrack.
I noticed that.
It is all, like, forest sounds. And I thought that was interesting. I was like, ooh. Like, it actually puts us in the woods, I feel like. More of that, like, atmosphere of, like, yeah, we're, like, on this ride with him. As opposed to, like, yeah, it's a movie we're watching. So, I like the vibe of the movie. It needed a little bit of tweaking.
I also didn't like where every time he was near somebody, it sounded like they were next to him when they were, like, way off in the fucking distance.
Yeah. The only scene that kind of works on is when they're on the lake, and it's because sound bounces off of water really easy, but it still didn't sound quite right. But
or when they were he is next to the campfire.
Yeah. Yeah, like, that made sense.
I mean, he's right next to him. But yeah, like, when he is just, like, off in the distance, and then there's, like, some people that are just, like, standing by the very beginning of the movie where he's, like, walking by, and there's some dudes at a truck that are talking to each other, and you can hear every single thing that they're saying. It wasn't even anything important either.
No.
I think the people that made the movie, they were just like, well, should people hear what they're saying? Because if you kind of just hear, like, in and out of what they're saying.
Yeah, muffling.
Yeah, then it's going to be like, did they fuck up on the sound? Like, I can't hear what they're saying. And it's like, well, because you're not supposed to hear, because how the fuck would he hear it? Unless he's got supersonic bat hearing.
The only thing I can figure why we could hear the conversation in the beginning is because the one guy is a ranger. And so the ranger becomes kind of important, like, later.
Right.
And so, like, it's a circle back to that. But still, I'm like, we shouldn't have been able to hear them. I think if we had seen, like, the side of his truck saying Park Ranger on it, would have made more sense. And then, like, heard muffle talking where, like, maybe we could pick out a word here or there, and, like, you know, the higher pitch or, like, the louder words, like, I'm gonna call the sheriff or whatever. Like, that would have made more sense. But yeah, the talking audio, is that redundant? Maybe, I don't know. It's just so weird.
It got to a point where it was distracting, especially with, like, the camper people. There are times where it's like, okay, they're clearly talking to each other right there, but then if you were to if it's a scene where you can't see them, then it's like you can clearly tell it's just like a voiceover thing, and it's like it's really distracting. There were a couple scenes that I felt were really creative with the kill. It was a really simple way.
Yeah. I agree.
It was the log cabin thing where he, like, he takes a log, stuffs it, and presses it into the horn, which I was surprised people didn't come out faster. But his whole strategy was, I know that they're gonna come by, so I'm just gonna walk around the place. And once they get there, I'm gonna kill them.
Yeah. That was good. And that's what, like, the way he killed was kind of smart. At least, like, certain ones, like, they were, like, a little bit artistic, if you will. I was like, huh.
Like, there were some times where the kills, I'm like, you're just not trying to get out of this circumstance. There's the one where we're talking about with Danny. There's a scene where he comes up behind a girl that's trying to do yoga. She said she wants to get stretched out later, and I was like, hey, but he comes up behind her, like he hits like a little twig. This man is not light on his feet either.
No.
He has some very clumpy, stompy horse feet that you can definitely hear him when he's coming around. So every time he sneaks up on somebody, I'm like, that man is built like a freight truck. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Freight truck?
Yes.
Yeah, he is built to last, and you're telling me that he's sneaking up on somebody?
I know, right?
Absolutely not. That's like a gorilla sneaking up on you. That's not going to happen. You will hear him.
I feel like a gorilla could sneak up on me, to be honest. They are made for the jungle and the woods. I feel like they could sneak up on me, to be honest. I don't think somebody in steel-toed boots who's at least 200 pounds could sneak up on me. I don't think he could. I do think a gorilla could, though.
Now I gotta see if a gorilla can sneak up on somebody. I don't feel like they can, but I don't know. Maybe they can. But anyway, point being, he sneaks up behind this girl, hits a little twig. She freaks out, and instead of doing anything, she just stands there.
She doesn't freak out, though. She's like, oh, I knew you were... It's about time you got here, because she thinks it's the other girl coming to
Yeah, but when she turns around and notices, it's like...
Yeah, because he had punched through her, and he had the, like, chain through her already.
Yeah, so she turns around, and it's like... Oh my god. But then she turns around to face, like, she moves like 2 steps forward and just looks, and there's just a steep incline, and it's like,
oh, I know what you're talking about. Never mind. Yeah.
Decline, whatever. It's a hill, and she can't go down. Well, she could go down the hill. It was steep enough, but I think they were like, maybe don't. Let's not try to get you down the hill, because this could. We don't want you to go flying down the hill.
I would have.
But yeah, she just.
I'm like, bye.
Bust out the Heelys. I'm Sonic
surfing.
Speed down this. Yeah.
Let me go.
But yeah, she just turns around, and he just punches her straight through the stomach.
Yeah.
And then like hooks her head,
like
or, like,
in
her
the spine.
Yeah, and just kind of like cherry stem ties her into herself, which was
creative.
Impressive, I guess, but it was like, all right. And then he just pushes her down the hill, and she makes it like halfway. Like, right.
Just leave her there. It's fine. Yeah, that was kind of funny. She was really bad at being scared. There were a couple of moments when the last chick, I don't know that I know that some of these characters had names. The only name I remember is Colt. That's it.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Only one of them had a name. Yeah. I don't even know which character he was. Oh, I did have subtitles on, and I found this really funny because the first one that dies, his name is Aaron, and it's spelled EHREN in the subtitles. Yeah, and I'm like, that's a very interesting way of spelling Aaron. EHREN. Like, they spelled it very literally. Anyway, yeah, there's, like, the it girl, or the final girl, where she's, like, running through the woods, and you can tell that she's sort of, like, running in place for a couple of steps to try and make it look like she's running, and I'm like, oh. And, like...
She didn't even get hurt by the killer guy. She just fell.
She just fell. Yeah.
How embarrassing.
Yeah. I want to know what their plan was with the gasoline.
I love that they just were like, you know what, how did they, I guess they, from the Firetail story of the necklace thing, or actually, wait, no, that wasn't brought up in the story.
No.
But
not at all.
It was the police chief guy who was like
the park ranger.
He took his necklace. Yeah. Which I was like, when he was like, "Do you remember me?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Mm-hmm. It's a park ranger.
Yeah.
Put him in the ground 10 years ago. I do like that we get more like bits and pieces of the story throughout the movie too. That like, okay, we get like this little legend right at the beginning of, you know, what this necklace was, blah blah blah, and then we get like a little bit more later on and that kind of thing. But instead of like Act 2, here is who this guy is and what you did and da 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 da. You know?
It felt like every time you saw a different character, they were just exposition dumping.
Yeah.
Something else. Instead of like a story actually like naturally coming along. Which like I get, because it's like, how do you tell a story through the characters that you're not interacting with?
Yeah.
Like, they're not the center, like they're not the main attraction, it's the killer. So how do you make the story happen around him where it makes sense of what's, but I'm like, if you don't say anything about him, then you're just watching a guy randomly kill people, which maybe would have worked better in this instance.
Maybe.
But then you would have been stuck with people just saying like random things that just don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But then again, for the kind of movie that this is with the whole slasher stuff, has anything really meant anything in any of those movies anyway?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So that's where it's like, I feel like this was a hard task to...
Yeah.
Because like you don't want him to be like the other slasher dudes where he's just teleporting places.
Yeah.
Because then it's just like, all right, well now you're just watching a guy just glitch over the map and stuff. It's like, well, this is silly. I don't want to fucking watch those.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then yeah, you're stuck with this movie where you're just watching him walk in the woods, and he just happens to find other people. What if he just would have never, like, how does he even know where this necklace thing is? You're like, I mean, how big are these woods anyway for him to walk around in?
I know, right?
And also, why would you just leave him, like, oh, I know that he can come back to life if you take his necklace. Why would you just leave him in a random shack in the middle of the woods?
It was the fire tower, because it was all burnt down. Also, why would you leave the necklace, like, above ground? Why not just bury it with him?
Yeah.
Like, fuck. Just bury it with him. Because literally a crow or a raven, wherever they are, I'm guessing Canada, I don't know, would come along and be like, ooh, shiny, or a squirrel or whatever, and just, like, take it. Like...
anything.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Or shitty humans, you know?
Yeah. I would have just put him, like, you know, in a coffin.
Yeah.
In the ground.
Yeah.
Like, locked securely tight so no one can get into it or something. Like, cement. Put him in a cement block. I don't know. Put him in something where he can clearly not get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, maybe bury him more than a foot underground. With a breathing tube?
Yeah.
A breathing pipe?
So in Friday the 13th Part 6, the main character stabs Jason. Jason's already dead in the beginning of this movie. He stabs him, and he's like, I want to make sure that he's dead. So he just goes in and stabs him with his pipe, and then a lightning strike happens onto the pole, bringing him back to life. And I thought that's what was going to happen in this movie.
That would have been really funny.
I would have just sat there and been like, okay, well now it's just Friday the 13th. Like,
yeah.
We're just going straight into it here.
Wow. Amazing.
But yeah, no. It's one of those movies, it's like, you almost had it. You had some ideas.
You had some ideas. I saw what you were trying to do. And I liked... I feel like this is something that if somebody told me the concept of it, I would be like, dude, that sounds dope. Like, that sounds great if you can pull it off. And then they show me what it is, and I'm like, concept-wise, great. Execution, I think you maybe should have, like, worked on it a little bit more.
You workshop it a little.
Workshop it a little bit more, you know?
Yeah. Well, there is a sequel that's going to come out in a couple of years, so...
Yeah.
Maybe we'll watch it.
Maybe. The special effects in this, they were...
A little goofy.
A little goofy, yeah. I mean, you could tell they were doing their best with a small budget. Like,
I mean, it's in the woods. I mean, you can't get a smaller budget than that.
Yeah, they were doing their best with a small budget. Like, there's... You know, you always know that, like, a dead body in a movie is a prop, right? It's a dummy body. Like, we all know this. But usually it looks a little bit more real-ish and less like you got a CPR mannequin. 'Cause definitely the one body, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's just a decapitated CPR mannequin.
Are you talking about when he, like, I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but with the sheriff guy, the park ranger guy, he, like, what does he do? Like, does he, like, break his spine or something? Like, he just
I think he does, yeah. I think he paralyzes him.
Yeah, he doesn't make, like, a sound at all.
Can't scream. I think he just paralyzes him. Which kind of made me think of the scene in Last House on the Left. Is that what it is? The newer one? Where, like, the dad's a doctor and he ends up, you know, paralyzing the guy by, like, fracturing a couple of his spinal column or whatever. And sticking his head in a microwave at the end. That was fun.
That same movie is the movie where they throw a fucking mattress at the guy. I was busting up laughing when I saw it. Like, the rest of it, serious movie, but then he just picks up the mattress and chucks it at him. And I'm like, how am I supposed to take this seriously anymore? This is fucking hilarious.
Who knows, man? But yeah, so I'm guessing that's what he did. He just, like, crushed his spine somewhere, which, like, there was right after he, like, does whatever it is to the spine, like, you get a look at the park ranger's back and it looks like they have a superficial spine, like, poking through his shirt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think there's one too many ribs, or something. Like, what am I supposed to be seeing here? Like, what am I supposed to be inferring from this? But yeah, I guess he's just paralyzed. I do appreciate that the killer splits the log on the log splitter to show us how it works first.
Thanks.
I really appreciate that. I'm like, you know, I didn't know how awful it was going to be until you showed me.
So fucking long.
It really
Why
did.
would he chop the arm off and then chop, like, and
for
it's not
funsies,
like
man?
It's not a fast log chopper either.
No, it's not.
This doesn't seem practical.
It's real slow.
And it was like, wow, this isn't really building any kind of tension whatsoever. Oh, and the final thing I'll say is, oh my god, the last 10 minutes of this movie were fucking insufferable.
God, they really were. They could have just cut out the last 10 minutes, 12 minutes of this movie.
So the final girl gets picked up by a random lady, and she is just trying to talk to the person and is trying to keep them awake or whatever. And you keep thinking, like, oh, he's just going to pop up. He's going to pop up. I'm glad that he didn't. I feel like they were able to build a little tension when he's like, well, I need to make sure that this wound isn't, you know, going to just keep bleeding out. And, like, that's how the movie ends. But, yeah, you keep thinking, like, oh, he's just going to show up and attack. It's like, no, he's got the necklace. He's good. He's chill. He's not going to do anything.
He's been pacified for a little bit.
But, yeah, oh, my God. The other thing I was thinking...
The story about the bear? Oh my god.
Oh my god, I couldn't give two less of a shit.
I was like, ma'am, shut up.
Yeah, and it's like, I need to make sure I'm talking to you, which I get, because it's like, well, I don't want you to have, like, a concussion, but she doesn't have any head trauma, it's her leg.
Yeah,
and it's like,
she could still go into shock and stuff, though.
Sure, but, like, lady, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
The dialogue was really bad in this movie.
It was really bad. It was not the worst acting we've ever seen, but it was getting there.
Yeah. I mean, we've dug down in the trenches of shit.
Oh, we have.
So, and you know what's funny? There's far worse things. It's like we've gone down, but we've barely even scratched the surface of what true garbage we could really watch for this show. Because I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch shit.
No.
I mean, sometimes we can.
Sometimes.
But I don't want to lose my fucking mind.
Yeah, we already have done that, so. Yeah.
But...
It was... I don't know. I think the Google rating that I saw, which was a 2.
Yeah, that's about where I was.
Yeah, maybe like a 2.5.
Yeah, I gave it about a 2 out of 5 on.
Yeah,
on Letterboxd. I was like, it's 2.
Yeah, like you get the extra star because of interesting concept, basically, and that's it. Like, otherwise you didn't tell the concept very well.
I'm hopeful that the sequel will be
better,
a little more, I don't know, something
probably
to
not
go off of, but we'll see. I mean, then again, I mean, like, Friday the 13th didn't really become Friday the 13th until like part 4.
Really?
I mean, he wears the mask in 3, but like the only ones that are like worth watching, in my opinion, are 4 through 7. A lot of people just say 4 through 6. But I like 7. He has a psychic. There's a psychic girl in it, and he has a. I don't know. It's a stupid movie, but like I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun still. But.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, in a violent nature.
Oh, I hate the title.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean
anything.
It
doesn't tie in with the movie at all.
I thought it was gonna be like a commentary on like waste in nature and how nature like I thought he was gonna like embody nature, and it's like he doesn't.
No.
Yeah. Or if that's what they were going for, it didn't. It didn't work. So.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Get us out of here, Justin. Get us the fuck
right.
out. I'm done.
So,
I'm over it.
If you are listening to us on whatever streaming thing, if you can give us the stars that are on there, or the thumbs up, or whatever is out there for what you have, give us that rating that's high for it. It is greatly appreciated. The only thing that I can ever see is if you download an episode. So if you download an episode, it'll make me think that you're out there somewhere. And also, I appreciate you downloading us. And, you know, downloading the episode is great, because then you don't have to worry about buffering or anything like that. And like I said, it directly supports us, what we do, which is sit here and talk to each other on Discord.
That's true.
So you can also find our YouTube channel as well, and you can subscribe there. So if you want to see what we look like, you can go there if you want to. And